We were talking about Willie a few moments ago, and I'd like to go back to that 4th of July picnic of Willie Nelson's and your impressions of it. I understand you got, what was it, a 15-minute ovation or something like that?
Well, I couldn't say. I really don't know, but it was a great standing ovation that the greatest I guess I've ever gotten in my whole career.
Yeah.
But the timing, I don't know. They were still applauding when I finally left the stage, and because after I do walking the floor, that's about all, that's the end of my. And I don't, but I did. They kept applauding, and Harold, I did go back. I guess it's one of the few times in the history of my career that I've ever gone back for an encore after I do walking the floor.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. But I did go back and sing. There's a little bit of everything in Texas, and then they were still applauding when I got back on the bus, and they were still going strong. Made me feel very good. And I think, I don't know, but they estimated we had around 27,000 people, which is a pretty good crowd. Not as large as some of Willie's picnics have been, but I think that he planned it this way. In other words, he had more or less country music on this show. It wasn't mixed, a mixture.
During the course of this show today, we've been talking about the Midnight Jamboree. And a lot of folks may not know about the Midnight Jamboree.
That's right, and we'd like to say that it's been going on now for 32 years.
32 years, yes.
It follows the Grand Ole Opry, and it's supposed to go on at midnight, but, when Marty Robbins is out there, you never know. Marty, I've kidded him so much. We just played a show together recently, too. Marty and I were in Arkansas. And anyhow, we have had the show, and as you mentioned, people like the Wilburn Brothers, Loretta Lynn, Elvis Presley.
And it's directly from your record show.
Yeah, that they've been guests.
Yes.
I have one thing that I really sincerely regret. I should have kept a log, a guest book of all those years. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, it would.
The people that's been on there. I just wish that, but you never think, until it's too late, I guess. But anyhow, I'm very proud of the Midnight Show, and we do feel like that we've helped country music, and we've helped a few artists over the years to be heard on a 50,000 watt station.
Especially the new artists.
Yeah, the new artists, and that's we hope we can help some more in the years to come. It's still going okay.
A lot of people think that you and Marty Robbins are really mad at each other.
Yeah, I was telling Marty, we played a show together here last week down in Arkansas, and I was telling him, we were pretty convincing when we talk about each other, when you're running over on the Opry, and I'm kidding, and everything. And we get a lot of mail, saying, what do you, from Marty's fans, what do you mean talking about Marty like that? He's our favorite singer, And some of them thinks I really mean it, And of course, I never tell them the difference, but I told Marty, as we keep on, we're going to have to explain to them that we do kind of like each other once in a while, But anyhow, we have a lot of fun, and Marty, I don't know whether you remember this now, but used to years ago, nobody wanted to be on that last 30 minutes of the Grand Ole Opry.
Yes.
And I have to take my hat off to Marty. He has made that a very popular 30-minute show there. He started doing it, and kidding around with the people and being real, down to earth and everything. And so he's just one of the best hands. The audience really love that when Marty's on there running. They don't know whether he's running over or not, but they're not worried about it. But I admire him for what he has done to that last 30 minutes of the Opry before I come on from the midnight show, that we mentioned a while ago.
And his racing really is what started that, wasn't it? He would go out and race here in Nashville and then go to the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, so he had to be on late or he wouldn't get to race, and that started the whole thing. And he's done well of course, I frankly, I'm afraid he's going to get hurt in that racing, but I tell him I wish you quit fooling with that racing because you're too good of an entertainer. We don't want to see you get bunged up or something, But anyhow, it's he loves it, so he has, let's say he's been successful with his racing and also that last half hour on the Grand Ole Opry. He's done a great job with both of them.
There's another man who appears with you on this album that not enough credit is given to him for bringing country music into homes where it had never been seen before. And I'm talking about the early days of television when Ferlin Husky appeared on television shows where no other artist, especially a country music artist, had appeared before.
That's right. To me, of course, I've known Ferlin, most of his career.
Yeah.
I met him when he was a disc jockey in California.
And had another name, as a matter of fact.
He went by Terry Preston.
Yes.
And I've always I thought he had talent, and still think it. In fact, he's on the Cachet Records label that we're with now.
Yes.
And they had a little party for one of the artists here a while back here in Nashville, and Ferlin and I got the first time I'd seen Ferlin in a good while. First time I'd seen him since this album came out. Yeah, and so I did get to talk to him a little bit over there, and I've always kidded Ferlin. To me, he has written some nice things, and as well as great songs, as well as being a fine performer. But on the stage, I don't know whether if the folks haven't got to see Ferlin perform. Really, I think he's to me kind of like Hank Williams. You really need to see him to really learn to appreciate him, see him in person, And we've been very good friends for many, many years, but I kid him like I kid Marty Robbins a lot, I kid Ferlin, and I said, good thing you've got Simon Crumb, because you'd be lost without, you wouldn't have any talent, without Simon. Of course, that's kidding too, because Ferlin is one of my favorite singers when he sings in his.
And Simon Crumb is Ferlin's alter ego.
Yeah, right.
Who's the best performer, Ferlin or Simon?
Well,
or do you want to be put on the spot right here?
It's hard to say because I don't want to make them mad at each other. One of the funniest things, we was on tour one time, Harold, and I had someone new, hadn't been in my band long or something, or someone was riding with me, and we were right behind Ferlin Huskies. Back then we used to travel in those limousine Cadillacs, And this was out in the Northwest. It was snowing. It was cold. And all of a sudden, they stopped right in front of us, Ferlin's car stops. And he jumps out. And he and Simon are having a fight. They got in an argument, And whoever was riding with me, someone that didn't know Ferlin very well, they said, "What is he doing?" I said, "He and Simon are having an argument. They're having a fight. They got an argument up there." And he fought all over that ditch, in that snow, up and out. And they finally got him back in, see. And they waved and went on, But this guy, he couldn't believe what he was seeing, He thought, am I losing my mind? Here's this one guy out there fighting,
Yeah, with himself.
Yeah. And I said, that's Simon. And I said, Ferlin's made Simon mad, and he's fighting him out there in the ditch. But we've had a lot of fun together, I'll tell you.
Another entertainer who's on this album with you is George Jones, which everybody says is probably one of the finest country singers in the business today.
I agree with everybody. He's one of my favorite, special favorite country singers, and has been for many, many years. George, worked on when he first his records, came up and got to selling good.
Mm-hmm.
He worked on shows with us and the Troubadours and myself, and I've always admired him very, very much. I'll still say he's one of the greatest singers we'll ever have.
He's a Texas boy too, isn't he?
Yes, I remember Eddie Hill, bless his heart, nicknamed him Possum, I believe, way back when he had his hair cut off real short. He called him
flat top.
Says you look like a possum, and a lot of people still call him Possum, Possum Jones. But no matter what you call him, he's one of our greatest performers, country and country music.
Weren't you the first to record a country session in Nashville, or one of the first?
It's been so long. I'm not for sure. It's either Red Foley or I was. Now I'm not for sure whether he recorded that one day and I recorded the next, or vice versa. But he and I, one of us, recorded first, and the engineers at WSM had asked us if we would record here if they put a studio here, built a studio. And so I said I would be happy to, and Red did too. And they figured if Red and I would ask Decca to let us record here, that the other companies would probably do the same thing. So to make a long story short, we agreed that we'd make our next session here, and they started building the studios over in the old two-lane hotel that's not there anymore, you know, but that's where they're building the studios, and we got ready to record before they got the studio ready. And so they said, "Looky, we're gonna," said, why can't we use one of the studios at WSM? So we recorded in Studio B. That was the first session. I believe that Red recorded, or I recorded one afternoon, and he recorded that night, or vice versa. I know we both recorded either the same day or one day apart.
So actually, you and Red started the recording business in Nashville.
Yes, uh-huh. And then by the next time we got ready to record, they had the studios finished over in the old two-lane hotel. And then, as I mentioned, the other companies decided they would record. See, either we had to go to Chicago, New York, or California to record, and it was much better to do it here. The atmosphere, and I liked everything about it, doing it here, than instead of going to, you know, the big city, New York or Chicago or California.
Well, this great album is out, The Legend and the Legacy, and I hope the folks who have heard the show today know a little bit more about Ernest Tubb, and I can say that you're the greatest friend that this business has ever had, or ever will have.
Well, thank you, Harold. Very, very kind of you. I've enjoyed all these years, and hope that I have contributed something to our kind of music, what we call country music now. I think it's music for the people, of the people, and I think they understand our kind of music, and I hope it just keeps growing, and I hope it stays country, you know. What'd you play, old Pete?
You're the only good thing.
E.T., let's talk about an old boy by the name of Harold Jenkins. You know who Harold Jenkins is.
Harold Jenkins, that sounds familiar. Oh, yes, an old Arkansas boy, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, people probably don't know what we're talking about.
I know they don't, really.
Well, he later became Conway Twitty.
Yes.
And the Twitty Birds. I'm telling you, he is something else. You know, he's on this album, you know, that we keep talking about, this Legend and the Legacy.
Yes.
And talk about writing songs. Now he rewrote one of the old World War II songs of mine. You know, It's Been So Long, Darling, and sort of wrote it where it has a different outcome. You know what I mean? In a way, it took it out of the war. You know, and I didn't know anything about that. And Pete Drake, you know, that put this all together behind my back and everything. Anyhow, Pete started playing that tape, and I said, you know, I didn't know what was happening. I said, well, that turned out pretty good, didn't it? And if you'll notice that some of the ad-libs I had to come back in and do, I said, at the end of that, It's Been So Long, Darling, I said, Conway was saying that I took her back away from him. I said, you never had her, Conway, you know. Conway Twitty. And the other, you know the thing that the Conway did that I really get a kick out of was what he did on the Women Make a Fool Out of Me.
Yes, about the low note.
Yeah. I would have sung that low note, I just can't reach it. Back when I was yodeling, I couldn't have reached it either, you know, before I lost my tonsils. If you love your mama and you treat her right, but she keeps on fussing at you every day and night, and she's gonna try to pull on you. They'll do it every time. And when your baby starts stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind. What do you think, Willie?
Now if your mama's mean, take a tip from me. Lock her up at home, but Lord, hang on to that key, 'cause she's gonna drive on you. She'll do it every time. And when your baby starts stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind. But if your mama's good, I'll tell you what to do.
Give her lots of love and love, but watch her closely too, 'cause she's gonna cry alone, yeah. They'll do it every time. And when your baby starts stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind. Oh, Pete Mitchell. Now here's Speedy West. Oh, pick it, boy. Now you come home to your mama, find your clothes ain't clean. You can bet you're slipping if you get just what I mean, 'cause he's been trifling on you. They'll do it every time. And when your baby starts stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind. Now, Waylon, son, it's all yours.
Now you may have a mama who says that she is true. Wait till you get down and out and really need her too. And she's gonna cry for long. Do it every time. When your baby starts to stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind.
Now I've been a lot of places, not much I ain't done. But when it comes to women, Lord, I just don't trust the one, because they trifle on you. They'll do it every time. And when your baby starts stepping, Lord, you nearly lose your mind. Nearly drives you crazy.
I know it, Ernest.
There's a little bit of everything in Texas. Just look around and you will see. There's a little bit of everything in Texas, and a whole lot of Texas in me. There are 47 states around it, and each of them have treasures of their own.
And everything they boast of, I sure found it. But we've got 'em all right here at home.
Now if you love old sunny California, or perhaps the hills of Tennessee,
No matter what you love, just come to Texas, and I'll bet my boots you will agree.
there's a little bit of everything in Texas, and really I'm not bragging, you see. There's a little bit of everything in Texas, and a whole lot of Texas in me.
Oh, give me a little Texas guitar there, Pete.
Tell 'em about it, boy.
Now if you love old sunny California, or perhaps the hills of Tennessee,
No matter what you love, just come to Texas, and I'll bet my boots you will agree. There's a little bit of everything in Texas, and really I'm not bragging, you see. There's a little bit of everything in Texas, and a whole lot of Texas in me. Set up 2 glasses, Joe,
and turn the jukebox low. and let me sit and reminisce. Now, Furlan.
While I pretend that she is sitting here with me,
the way she did not long ago. We used to paint the town red and dance until 2.
well, I don't paint it red no more, but I'm sure painting it blue.
He stole her love, I know,
But he can't stop me, Joe,
from having just a dream or two. Oh, Pete Mitchell.
Oh, I wish you'd buy me one. Hey, E.T., I'm gonna make it 3.
Simon, shut up. I'll send you back to the truck, boy. Set up 2 glasses, Joe.
maybe you didn't know.
But there's a memory in the room.
A memory that walks
A memory that talks.
and haunts me everywhere I go.
I'm just a fool who loves her and will till I die.
From the very first hello until the last goodbye.
And this is it, you know.
So fill 3 glasses, Joe,
And leave me here alone to cry.
Hey, make it 4.
I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to our special tribute to the Texas troubadour Ernest Tubb tonight as we hear stories from his career in his own words with this wonderful interview from 1979. And we're playing some of Ernest's greatest songs, including some of the duets that he did on the Legend and Legacy project. So sit back and continue to enjoy our great tribute to Ernest Tubb as we continue with My Kind of Country here on MKOCRadio.com.
I don't love you like I used to do, but I'm afraid to tell you so. I've got half a mind to leave you, but only half the heart to go.
Words to tell you just don't come to me.
Oh, tell me more, George.
I guess my courage is too slow. Yes, I've got half a mind to leave you, but only half the heart to go.
Here's Buddy Emmons now. Remember this, Buddy? Couldn't stay awake, could you? Now time may prove that you're not to blame,
But now's the time I need to know.
I've got half a mind to leave you, but only half the heart to go. I love the women and I love them all the same.
What about you, Conway?
Lord, when I love my women, I love them all the same.
But I don't love nobody well enough to change her name. The women make a fool out of me.
Me too, E.T. They do it to me all the time.
My papa scolded me, and my mama sits and cries.
Every time my papa scolds me, my mama just sits and cries.
Said I had too many women for any little boy my size. The women make a fool out of me.
Let's hear from you, Jerry Kennedy.
Hey, E.T., here comes a couple now. What do you think?
I think I'm gonna let you have that big fat one on the left, Conway.
I'm going to the parlor, gonna give them girls a treat. What do you think about that, E.T.?
Lord, when I'm in the parlor, the girls think it's a treat. Oh, even in the winter time, they turn off the heat. The women make a fool out of me.
Yeah, that kind of makes it unanimous.
When I take a girl to dinner, she hangs around my neck.
When I take my girl to dinner, you ought to see her hang around my neck.
She always pays a taxi, why she even pays a check. The women make a fool out of me.
I would have sung that last line with you, E.T., but it's too low.
Johnny Paycheck is another one that's on this album. Johnny is one of those in the same mold, I guess, as Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Charlie Daniels.
Yes, I would say so. And the younger kids, the younger generation, latched on to John, and I've known Johnny since he was a teenager. You know, I say, I don't know whether you know it or not. You probably have no reason to know it, but see, Johnny used to come into Nashville and the midnight show and come around, and if we was going out to play a Sunday show date and coming back in, he'd say, "Could I ride with y'all on the bus?" You know. And he's one that he'd sing on the bus all night long, you know. Loved to sing, and I sort of more or less helped raise him, I guess, back in those days. He'd go out and I'd let him do a number, you know. And I'm trying to think.
He became a sideman for a while too, didn't he? With
I think
George
so later.
Jones.
Yeah, I think he did. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of his. He's had 2 or 3 different names, you know. I'm trying to think what the first name he went by.
Donnie?
Donnie Young or?
Yeah.
Donnie, I guess. Anyhow, he loved country music. I'll say that for him because he used to sing everybody's song and he was a big Buck Owens fan. And I remember that first I heard Buck Owens songs before I ever met Buck Owens because Donnie was Buck had a couple of records out. And he was singing them before Buck ever got on Capitol Records is on a independent label, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Johnny's I love what he did on this album too. He's if you'll notice in one place when I come back into ad-lib, I heard Johnny really he was singing it in his style, you know. And I said, "Keep it country, John," you know. 'Cause I already heard what he'd done, you know. And I said, "Keep it country, John."
There was a brother act that you helped some years ago get on the label too, and later on they got out of the business, and now one of the brothers is back in it. Is about as big as anybody these days. And I'm talking about Vern and Rex Gosden, the Gosden brothers.
Yeah, and way back in the 50s, yes, I was on their session and helped them on MGM Records way back there. And then they sort of got out of the business, I guess, and then Vern has come back and had some great things out here lately. And I certainly appreciate him being on this tribute album too.
You know, Charlie Rich has had about 3 or 4 different careers in this business. He sang blues for a while, and then country for a while, and then went pop for a while. But he said that he bought your Blue-Eyed Elaine book when he first got started.
Number one Ernest Tubb songbook. Yeah, way back when. See, that was my first song that I recorded for Decca Records, and that was the first songbook I had out. You know, Blue-Eyed Elaine, and I'll Get Along Somehow, When the World Will Turn You Down. Yeah, I heard that he spent his last money, saved up his money to buy that songbook way back years ago.
Songbooks were important at one time, weren't they?
Absolutely. I remember the first my first Jimmy Rogers songbook that I ever bought, you know, and of course I had his records, but you also wanted the book so you could look at the chords on there and see if you're using the same chords that they use, you know, and so forth. And when I came here to the Grand Ole Opry in 1943, I think Roy Acuff, of course, was selling a lot of books by mail, you know. We used to advertise them on the Grand Ole Opry, you know, WSM. And I know that Asher Sizemore, Little Jimmy, I believe Roy told me they still have the record. They sold more songbooks here on the Grand Ole Opry than anyone. And I think Roy outsold them, but he never would say. Anyhow, the story is that they sold more books than anyone that's ever been on the Grand Ole Opry. Roy Acuff was second, and Ernest Tubb was third. I came here in '43, and we did sell an awful lot of songbooks. And I hope a lot of those good people that maybe, well, in fact, I know they still have some because they bring them around once in a while for me to autograph, Harold, when I'm on tour, you know.
Oh, that's great. Were the songbooks as important as records at one time?
Well, I don't think so. No, I think they were very important from a monetary standpoint. You made a lot of money out of songbooks, but I think that the records, you know, the newness of the books that sort of wore off, you know, and maybe good record players and electric record phonographs and everything, I think took away from maybe the songbooks, and that's just a thing of the past now as far as selling songbooks. We don't even we sell a few, you know, at the record shop, but
not as much emphasis was put on selling records, was it?
Huh?
Not as much emphasis.
No, actually, see, the Grand Ole Opry back in the early days, that they didn't want you to mention records.
Yeah.
They didn't even want you to make records, really. And of course, that changed. They finally changed their opinion on that. And I think I helped them change it because I did a lot of talking. I said, looky, the more records we sell, I think that makes the Grand Ole Opry bigger, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But see, they didn't want you to be heard. Really and truly, Roy can tell you this. They didn't want you to be heard on records. They wanted you to be heard only on Saturday night at the Grand Ole Opry. But really, they had it figured out wrong, I think, because the bigger record sellers became the biggest Grand Ole Opry stars, you know, in the long run.
What so far has been your biggest selling record? Is it Walking the Floor?
Yeah, I'm afraid it's still it. Yeah, that's the one. And I don't know. People ask me how many did it sell. All I know, I'd say, I'm just guessing, but I'd say probably, as of now, with the album and everything, probably a couple of, 2 million, you know.
Well, before we talk about the Walking the Floor, which is the newest single from The Legend and the Legacy.
Yeah,
let's talk about the number one outlaw. Everybody talks about old Waylon.
Yeah, old Waylon. Well, you know what? Those names and titles of the outlaws
don't mean much, do they?
No, it's just I don't know. Somebody picked it up, but Waylon. I remember when Waylon first came to Nashville, and in fact we worked shows together. You know, when he was first getting started, and I admired him very much. But he did have a different style, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs their own distinct style, and he had a different style. And I enjoyed working with him very much, and I did notice that then 2 or 3 years later we played a couple of shows just now, not too often, you know, once in a while, and we was getting some of the younger people, and I think Waylon's had a lot to do with the younger generation learning more about country music, because that he has his type of work has attracted them, you know, and he's a good one as far as I'm concerned, and I like I mentioned about Willie, I told Willie, I said, Willie, I wish you'd cut your hair and shave and clean up. I said, I know you're clean, you know, but you look dirty, you know. I kid Willie, and I kid Waylon the same way. I wish both of them would shave, you know.
Yeah.
But really, it hadn't hurt their talent at all, you know. But to me, they're country boys, and you know, Waylon's from out in
Yes.
Lubbock, Texas, out in there, you know, and we're all Texans, so I can say anything I want to about him. You know, ain't much they can do about it because they may not even hear this anyhow. If they do, I travel so much it'd be hard for them to catch up with me. You know? But no, I admire Waylon, and I think he's made a great contribution to our music, and he and Willie, I think, are helping us attract younger audiences now.
Do you think that this type of change is good for country music?
I think it's good that when we can increase our audience out there. I'm not, like I mentioned about, I don't care about the titles, you know, the gimmicks about the outlaws and this.
Yeah.
That means nothing to me. So the point is, if people will listen, you know, the kids, if they listen to the songs, that they do have a meaning, you know, and as long as I remember 10 years ago, someone said, you got a bunch of hippies out here in California, you know. We played a college town, and I said, well, that's all right with me. I said, I want everybody to like our music, you know what I mean? And we did have quite a few of it's back when the long hair was just getting back in the 60s, you know. And I said, it doesn't matter. And they were real fans. I guess I had about 20 kids come up to get an autograph, you know, which I felt like we was spreading the country, spreading the word around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as long as they behave themselves, I want them all to come see us. You know, as long as they don't make too much racket where we can sing. You know.
Mr. Guitar is also in this album too. Is scattered about.
Chet Atkins,
yes.
Bless his heart. I don't know whether he ever told you this story or not, and he probably never would. But I said, Chet, you know, Chet sent me a telegram from North Carolina back in 1947. And asking me for a job playing electric guitar. He heard that Jimmy Short was leaving, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get the telegram. He sent it on a Monday. I didn't get it till Saturday. He said, I must have an answer by Wednesday because I'm leaving. And I didn't get it till Saturday, so I never got to answer his telegram. And I would have hired him, see, because I'd heard it, you know, admired him very much. I heard him back when he was on the Renfro Valley show, you know, years ago.
Yes.
And
with the Carter, was this with the Carter sisters? With Carter
well,
family?
it was back in that area.
Yeah.
Knoxville and then the Renfro Valley.
Yes.
And way back when Red Foley was on the Renfro Valley thing, you know. Anyhow, years later, I told Chet, I said, you know, I explained to him, you know, after he came here, why he hadn't heard from me, because I didn't know where to send it, you know, because I didn't get a telegram until Saturday. And I said, I'd been happy to have hired you, you know. I said, but look, I done you a favor, see. You still be out there beating that road, you know, as a Texas troubadour probably. And look what you've done now in the music business on your own and working for, you know, vice president of Victor Records and so forth, you know. He just kind of laughed. You know, one thing a lot of Chet's fans don't know, and he probably would shoot me for telling them, but I'm going to tell them right now. The first time I heard Chet on a record label was on a jukebox in North Carolina somewhere, and he was singing on a record.
Yes.
And I liked the song. I liked the song very much, and learned it and recorded it. It's me.
How's the World Treating You?
No.
Wasn't that one?
Oh no, this was way back.
Oh, was
And
I think that was the only one he ever wrote, wasn't it?
this he didn't write this song, but this was just somebody wanted him to make a record and sing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad says, "Don't tell nobody about that." He said, "But said, I would have done anything. I wanted to get on record. So I'd done anything to get on record, even try to sing." No, it was a blues type thing, like similar to Jimmy Rogers' "Women Make a Fool of Me." And it was, I know my baby loves me, in her own peculiar way.
Oh yeah.
That was Chet Atkins is where I learned that song,
Uh-huh.
And I say he didn't write it. I don't know. He may have written it. I don't know. But anyhow, he said, "I'd done anything to get on record." But said, "Don't tell people about that."
Yeah, he was a featured vocalist for a while. He played drums for a while, I think.
He's done just about everything,
Yeah.
I guess. And of course, I think the title, he's Mr. Guitar, I think that's very befitting to Chet.
Yes, it is. Let's talk about this single. Have you changed Walking the Floor Over You this time, 30, almost 40 years later? It's back out and a big record again. Have you changed the lyrics or anything around since the first time?
I'm doing it the same way, Harold, but with Chet Atkins picking guitar on there and Merle and singing on there,
Yeah.
and like on Waltz Across Texas, Charlie McCoy was playing harmonica. It's you have to blame Pete for all that. He made all them changes. I just come in here and recorded Walking the Floor, and Pete Drake had, Pete played on, he played on one of those records, one of those songs in this album, Pete Drake himself. After doing all that, putting it together, he played on You're the Only Good Thing with Charlie Rich. He's on that one. Pete playing steel guitar. And I told him I was gonna tell Buddy Charlton and Buddy Emmons on him, but anyhow, he plays pretty good. He's a better producer. No, I'm kidding Pete because he's hearing this.
That's right. And he's probably cutting it out of this tape that
He
we're doing right now. Charlie Daniels is also on this record with Merle Haggard and you. Walking the Floor Over You.
He's oh yeah, that's right, on the single. Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about him earlier. And about he's got his own style and does his own thing, wears his own hat, as Merle Haggard would say, and he has got a lot of talent. I mean, everything I've heard so far, it's been a little bit different from the average, and I like what he does very much.
E.T., you've always made a practice on your records of telling who was doing the turnaround.
Yeah, I guess Jimmy Rogers, my idol inspiration, he used to say, he didn't mention name, but he'd say, "Pick it out, son," or something,
Yeah.
And then Bob Wills, of course, started using names, Take It Away, Leon, and I guess that's where I got the idea from Jimmy and then from Bob. And like Jimmy Short, my first first guitar player on Decca Records, his nickname was Smokey. A lot of people didn't know who Smokey was, and they're learning that's Jimmy Short, And then
who was Butterball?
Butterball was Tommy Page from North Carolina, and he was a little bit overweight, and I named him Butterball,
Yeah.
And people still ask about, but someone asked me, "How many guitar players have you had? Lead guitar players, And really and truly, offhand, I can't tell you. I said I wore out about 7 or 8 of them, I guess. But Jimmy Short was first, and then Smitty made some records. He never was a troubadour, but he was a guitar player in Fort Worth that made some of my first records. And then after Jimmy Short, then I mentioned in '47 about Chet Atkins wiring me. I didn't get the telegram,
Yes.
Done him a favor by not hiring him probably. And anyhow, Butterball, Tommy Page also came into Nashville looking for the job. He heard about Jimmy leaving. And then he was with me till '49. Then Billy Bird came to work. Billy Bird worked longer, I guess, than any of them.
Uh-huh.
And still one of my very special favorites.
Well, he's on this album too.
Yeah,
isn't he?
Billy's on this Legend and Legacy album, and we had to have him back in there,
Yeah.
But he was with me for about 10 years, from '49 to '59. Then he came back and worked a couple of years in the '70s, and then finally retired. He wanted to get off the road, and I've had so many after
Leon
Billy.
Rhodes came along.
Leon, and then Let me see. I'm trying to think. Jack Maletti, Steve Chapman.
Yes.
Steve was here. Steve is still playing. He's still working here in town, but he's working sessions and doing great. And of course, Pete Mitchell is with us now. He's the troubadour now. And we've had so many, and it's like someone asked me, said, did Floyd Kramer, Floyd played piano, on a lot of our records.
Yes.
We mentioned earlier about drums and so forth. That Floyd, and then of course Owen Bradley. Owen is one of the first piano players I ever played on my records, and produced. In fact, Owen, produced a lot of my records over the years.
Is he the one you call Half Moon on this album?
Yeah. Somebody came up way out in Montana. So we playing a club out there. Little boy feeling pretty good, and he said, and this was just happened just about a couple of years ago. He said, "Hey," "where's old Half Moon Bradley? I want to hear him play that piano." and I was telling Owen Bradley about that. And he's on this album too.
Yeah.
I was telling him he really got a kick out of that, and it's happened over the years. But here just recently, and Owen Bradley hadn't been on, hadn't played really when he started producing records. That's when he started asking me to use Floyd Kramer and some of the others, so it was funny to Owen to think after all these years. That was probably 20 years ago when I first said, "Oh, come in," or 25 years ago, I said, "Come in, Half Moon." The reason for that, I don't know whether Owen ever told you that story, but Moon Mullican, was one of my favorite people, and I thought played a great country piano, And I told Owen, I said, "Owen, Owen's a great musician, and knows music." And he was playing it real good, but it wasn't country. It wasn't, little rinky-dink, And I said, "Play it like Moon Mullican." So Owen got fooling around, and played on it and really changed the style, Really played it good, and good and country, And he said, "Oh," I said, "How does that sound like Moon Mulligan?" I said, "That's about half as good as Moon, so I'll call you Half Moon Bradley." And I did it on the record, and they left it on there, He got a kick out of that, though, this fella asking about him after all these years. Owen has made such a contribution, and you mentioned the Hall of Fame. He's also a member of the Hall of Fame, and
Yes.
and should be by all means. He's made a great contribution to our country music.
Billy Graham.
And another friend of yours is on this album, great guitarist, Billy Grammer.
Oh, Lordy, yes. I love him. He's we mentioned Loretta being not only a great performer and songwriter, but a great person. Billy Grammer is one of the most sincere people that you'll ever meet, I'll tell you. He's one of my favorite people, and I've known him for quite a few years. Back when he was, in fact, we did one of the early TV shows. I was on the Jimmy Dean show years ago when Jimmy had his show out of Washington, D.C. Billy Grammer was playing guitar on that show. And so that's more years than Billy or I either one want to talk about. Anyhow, he's one of my favorite guitar people, I'll tell you for sure.
And he had a pretty good record, too, on Gotta Travel On.
He hadn't done bad with travel. Some of the others, too, but Gotta Travel On, that is, of course, I wonder how many that sold altogether.
I don't know.
It's still selling.
Yeah.
But I know it was over 1 million seller, It's a great record. And Billy is a great person. I love him very much. I want to say thanks to him for being on this album, too.
Here it comes, honey. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way. There's something wrong, your love is gone. I've no reason now to stay. We live and love, we meet and part, then broken hearts must pay. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way.
Tell him about it, Ernest.
Your love, sweetheart, I won't forget. You're always on my mind. You're all the happiness I knew, so thoughtful, sweet and kind.
Oh, I love that old man.
For old time's sake, I'm asking you to think of me someday. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way. And now here's Grady Martin.
You heard him, son.
Now let's keep it country, Johnny.
Well, I wish you a happiness, sweetheart, in everything you do. May good luck always come your way, and every dream come true, Lord. I'll remember you and the love we knew, the love of yesterday. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly song way.
If I should meet some other dear and learn to love them too, I hope and pray somehow, sweetheart, they'll make me think of you. A tender smile, an old love song, a heart so light and gay. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way. There's something wrong, your love is gone, I've no reason now to stay. We live and love, we meet and part, then broken hearts must pay. Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a friendly kind of way.
Oh, you got it, Ernest.
It's been many months, dear, since we parted, and not one word have I heard from you. I'm so all alone and broken-hearted, and I wonder if you miss me too. When the world has turned you down, dear, I'll be waiting. When your friends can't be found, I'll be there. When your heart is sad and weary and no longer wants to roam, when you have no place to go, please come on home. Now here's old Waylon. And now here's Vern Gosden.
Darling, I don't know just why you left me, but I know my heart is broken too. And if someday you should decide to want me, remember I'll be waiting here for you.
When the world has turned you down, dear, I'll be waiting. When your friends can't be found, I'll be there. When your heart is sad and weary and no longer wants to roam, when you have no place to go, please come on home. Lynn Owsley. Oh, sing it pretty, Waylon.
Dear, if I have failed you, then I'm sorry, for I didn't mean to treat you wrong. And if you should ever need me some tomorrow, you will find me waiting here at home.
When the world has turned you down, dear, I'll be waiting. When your friends can't be found, I'll be there. When your heart is sad and weary and no longer wants to roam, when you have no place to go, please come on home.
I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to our very special tribute to the Texas troubadour Ernest Tubb tonight. We're playing this wonderful interview from 1979 where Ernest talks about his great career in his own words. And, of course, a lot of great songs from Ernest Tubb through all the years, including some of these wonderful duets from the Legend and the Legacy Project. Hope you're enjoying this very special tribute as we continue right here on MKOCRadio.com.
I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep a wink, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying as my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over you, Merle. Well, you left me and you went away. You said that you'd be back in just a day. Well, you broke and you promised and you left me here alone. I don't know why you did, dear, but I do know that you're gone. I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep a wink, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying as my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over you. Ah, Pete and Lynn. Mr. Guitar himself, Chet Atkins. Now someday you may be lonesome too. You talking about me, Ernest. Walking the floor is good for you. Just keep right on walking and it won't hurt you to cry.
You know.
Remember that I love you and I will the day I
Didn't know you felt that way, Ernest.
I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep a wink, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying as my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over